Black and brown creatives, understand me. L.O.S.T Creatives Podcast is here. I am looking for you. L.O.S.T Creatives Podcast. You trying to get it out there? DM me. I will shout out your work. I will drop links to your work. This is free. You don't have to give me a penny. I just want your time and your story, good brother. I just want your time and your story, good sister. We have our platform now. Let's get out there. This is what's up. This is what you need to do. I want your work to be out there, and I'm waiting on you. Tell me a story. Okay, welcome back, everybody, and all of y'all to the L.O.S.T Creatives Podcast. I am your host, Ijlal Abdullah Muhammad, and as usual, we're about to get into some things. So today, I actually have a wonderful, spectacular guest. I have been trying to catch for a minute because she's extremely busy, but she definitely responded, and I'm so glad I have her here. So let me just jump straight into introducing her to all the creatives watching and listening. She's been published multiple times over the years, eventually reaching an international audience. She's been a muse for local, national, and international artists and creatives everywhere. A multi-hyphenate creative like no other, the Godiva Goddess. Please, everybody, put your hands together for Memphis, Tennessee's own Khalifa Kofi is in the building remotely. Hey. Good morning, good sister. Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. I feel wonderful. I'm feeling great.
That's what's up. That's what's up. On a feeling wonderful on a Monday afternoon or Monday morning still.
Mm-hmm. You got to get the week started properly.
I think you're doing good if you're feeling wonderful on a Monday morning.
Yeah.
That's what's up. I really quick before we started the interview, I got to admit, I saw you drinking tea or coffee from a cup that I've never seen before. Can you flash that for us again, please? Because I was very interested in that cup.
I am drinking my honey ginger tea this morning.
Honey ginger tea. Look at that. That's hot. I like it. It almost seems like that would be the thing you pouring the tea out of, let alone, not necessarily the cup. I'm like, well, she's drinking tea from the kettle.
I have a thing for coffee mugs, so I collect them. When I travel, that's like usually the first souvenir I go for is a coffee mug. And my aunt has been all over the world, and this was one that she got in South Africa, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and shades of brown are my favorite, so this is just kind of perfect.
Shades of brown are your favorite. Mm-hmm. Who would have guessed? Now that's what's up. Is your aunt still with us?
She is. Yeah, she is in Dallas, Texas. Lives in Dallas. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Yeah. Look, I knew you had a thing for mugs. You don't see a mug like that and think that, oh, okay, you just happen to have it. It's just like it really stood out. One of the things that I've noticed about creatives is our keepsakes. Mm-hmm. They tend to be very creative, themselves. So that's pretty interesting. So I go on Instagram and I just scroll, search, and this is typically how, and then something stands out to me creatively, and I'm like, oh, let me try to reach out to this person. That's not the actual process that happened with me finding you. After interviewing Sincerely Antoinette, the spectacular metal artist, she referred me to KB the Visionary, another spectacular artist, and then KB referred me to you. I was so happy that it happened like that because I thought Sincerely Antoinette's work was magnificent, and I sent her a DM, and then when she referred me to KB, I saw her work and I was like, oh wow, I guess creative people just really, really good creative people. So then I DM'd her, and then she sent me your handle, and I was like, oh snap, check her out. This is magnificent. Well, I'll save that. We'll get into that. I don't want to get up just early, but anyway, I was just simply by the post. I thought your work was wonderful. And I don't want to say no more about it until you get a chance to go into it. So I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I love the fact that so far, one of the great things about the L.O.S.T Creative Podcast is the networking. Yeah. Because that's one of the things that I very much wanted from it. Being for Black people to be able to promote their work, in a creative space, free of charge, and then also turn around and say, hey, you get on, and then you get on, and to keep that going. So I'm that's one of the things that make me really, really happy about this interview specifically, because it just, I would prefer it to continue to happen like that. It's very, very much, I want an environment of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I put you on, you put me on, and we can just continue to grow like that. And that's exactly how this came about. So I'm ready. We're going to go ahead and do it. As always, on the L.O.S.T Creative Podcast, I love stories. I'm an author. So I think telling stories are one of the best ways of getting out messages, of bringing people in, excellent form of communication. So while the creatives are telling their creative journeys, I like for it to be broken down into 3 different chapters, 1, 2, and 3. So when speaking with you previously, or either communicating with you previously, you did provide me your 3 creative chapters. So we're going to go ahead and start with chapter 1, which you titled The Beginning.
Keeping it simple.
Simple.
Because my journey's been everything but, so.
Really? Do tell.
Yes. Where do I start with that? Well, I guess from an early age, I have 4 other siblings. So there's a total of 5 of us. I have 3 brothers and a sister. And we always had this running joke growing up how out of...
Where do you fit in that?
I am number 3, so I'm the middle kid.
Oh, okay. That's what's up.
I have 2 older and 2 younger, so I'm right in the middle. But we always had this joke growing up how out of the 5 of us, there would always be 4 who could do something and 1 that couldn't do it. So yeah. So out of the 5 of us, only 4 of us are artistically inclined. So my siblings are musicians, artists. Like my little brother's really good at drawing. Like he is phenomenal. My little sister does drawing. My oldest brother does drawing. He now has been really into doing car interior and exterior work.
All right.
Before that, growing up, he was a producer. So he would make his own beats. He would make beats for his friends. And with him being the oldest, I was really inspired by him because he can draw very well. So it kind of started as early as maybe 5 that I can remember. Okay. I've always been a creative child. I've always drawn stuff. I used to love the color. My grandma taught me how to sew by hand. So there was just all kinds of cool stuff that, if it was a creative way to express myself, I was into it.
You were doing it.
So yeah. And then that branched into getting my first film camera. So I do photography. And that's kind of how I fell into modeling was through photography. So any way to be creative or to express a creative interest, I'm usually all for it. So my entire life throughout school, I've had art classes and won a couple of awards through middle school for being able to draw. So yeah, I've done a lot of creative stuff over my entire lifespan. So Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things, right? About being about creatives, and it's also one of the many reasons why I wanted to call the show "The Lost Creatives," not necessarily "The Lost Artists."
Mm-hmm.
Right? Typically, when someone says I'm an artist, there's like usually two images, one of two. That kind of pops into someone's head. It's usually you're a painter or you're a drawer or you draw something, right? That's usually when you say an artist, that's usually I don't know why that's the go-to, but it is.
Yeah.
And I don't think that, even though, we all refer to ourselves as artists and so on and so forth, I think that doesn't give us as much, or it doesn't show as much appreciation to our ability as saying creative.
Mm-hmm.
Because like when I was interviewing Sharita of Ink Beautiful, she's an AI artist.
Cool.
And and her work is really good. And one of the things that she runs into is people felt that they don't consider her a real artist. And people are always going to have something to say.
People will have their opinions, and they don't understand like the amount of time and dedication it takes to learn a skill to be able to properly do something. Like, I'm terrible with technology. I'm terrible with it. Like, I could do the most basic stuff with it, but beyond that, I've always been impressed by graphic designers, and I feel like AI artists fall under that category.
Yeah, very much so. And in speaking with her, you found out that she has years of graphic design. And so one of the things was I was saying that this is not, yes, you speak words into a computer and it generates it for you, but the computer doesn't go into your mind. Any creativity starts with inception. You have some vision now, and then for her, it eventually got to the point where she found a medium that could express her vision in the best way, as she saw it fit. So I just think that creative it gives a broader stroke as it relates to what we do. And I know with, like, for example, with KB the Visionary, and Sincerely Antoinette, they both stated the same thing. When they were young, from a young age, they were doing, you name it. They were writing, they were drawing.
Creative stuff.
Sincerely Antoinette was saying, she said she was making outfits for, like, for modeling and stuff. So we end up, I guess, specializing in a certain genre. I guess whichever one ends up speaking out to us the most.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting to know that, we kind of dabbled in everything.
A little bit of everything.
And then on top of that, found success in a lot of those things, because you said you won some awards, right? For drawing.
Yeah, I can't remember the name because it was so long ago. I can't remember the name of the award, but I just remember I was in 7th or 8th grade. I know this was right before I started high school, so it had to be middle school. And I had drawn like this duck. This duck was sitting on a pond, and it was all these little details and stuff. And I ended up winning an award, had like a picture in the newspaper. I'm pretty sure my mom still has it packed up somewhere.
Nice.
I think I got like 2nd place out of like 25 people who entered the contest. Yeah. And so my art teacher at the time, Mrs. Ware, she actually put the image in a contest for me. I wasn't even going to do it. I wasn't going to do it. And she did it for me, and I ended up winning 2nd place. So that kind of triggered this whole, wow, I'm actually good at this. Like, I should just keep doing it. So yeah, that was, to my earliest knowledge, an award that I won for art specifically, or just for something that I had created. So I thought that was really neat at the time. And like I said, it kind of sparked something different in me, because around that age, I was pretty set on going to law school.
Really?
I was set on going to law school.
Okay.
And when I saw that art can kind of take you to all these different places that you wouldn't really think, like, yes, this picture I drew, people are going to love it so much that I get an award for it. So for me, that kind of sparked something different. And you know how it goes when it's like, oh, you can't make money doing art, so you don't really, you kind of start to look at that as like, it's a hobby. It's not really something that I can make a career out of. But that comes full circle. That came full circle right after high school, because then by high school, my plan was to go to the military right after high school. So I was in JROTC 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, with the idea that as soon as I graduate, I'm trying to go to the Marines. Like, I'm trying to do something cool. I'm trying to do something different. And my dad was in the military, so it's not like military life was foreign to me. But 10th grade was when 9/11 happened. And of course, my mom was like, no, you can't do the military. And so then I was still thinking, okay, maybe law school. I'll still maybe pursue law school. And this was 10th grade. And come senior year, the end of my senior year was when my mom had cancer. Like, she was diagnosed with cancer. So that put a whole another stamp in the leaving to go to the military thing. So I couldn't do that. And it was right around that time that I discovered that Memphis actually has, or had, they recently closed a couple years ago, had an art college, a small art college. Like, the student body would top out at like 250. So it wasn't a big school. And when I told my family, yeah, I'm just gonna go to college for art, they were like, what? And for me, I'm just like, there's not much else that I could do at the time, because I'm having to take care of not just her, but my two younger siblings who were still in high school.
Gotcha.
So I had a big part in just their survival, I guess, because she was, too sick, too ill to care for them, really. I'm having to work on top of juggling school, juggling life, like juggling all this stuff. And so for a while, I did lose my own creative spark. And then when I started college, that was when I kind of found it again. Like, I was just making stuff all the time. And I mean, that's where like my love of film photography just kind of deepened at that point. So I was taking pictures, and when you have film, you only have so many shots you can get in a canister, in a roll of film. So it's like, and being a film photographer, usually more often than not, you're working with whatever available light that you have. So I would do these self-portraits all the time to see, like, where's my light? What do my settings need to be? And that's how I kind of learned how to pose and how to always know where my light's coming from, what the best angle is going to be to capture that. So I could get hired for like a 2-hour shoot. Let's say I got hired for 2 hours. I'm probably going to give you a good 200 images within that first 45 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is just, that's just how I learned to operate, from doing my own self-portraits for so long with film photography. And for me, modeling wasn't even something that I was seeking out. It just kind of happened. I remember the first time a photographer approached me to do a shoot. I was actually about 18, 19 years old. I was downtown and the outfit I had on, I guess, was really cool. So the guy was like, hey, do you model? And I was like, no, no. And he was just like, do you mind if I take your picture? And I was like, no, I don't mind at all. So he took the picture, and I just remember this was back during, like, Facebook was just becoming like a real, everybody's transitioning from MySpace to Facebook.
Wow. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I heard MySpace said out loud.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
just like every time I think about it, I'm like, man, that just shows my age for real. Like, but this was what everybody's transitioning from, MySpace to Facebook. Mm-hmm. And I remember receiving the picture and just looking at it, and I was like, whoa, like, this is cool. And I remember he was like, could I have a mailing address? Because I'd like to pay you. So I'm going to use a couple of these for like internet publication. And that was when I was like, I can make money just by taking cool pictures. Like, this is, I might have to look into that. And it seemed like right after that, I was getting booked for fashion shows, photo shoots, live modeling stuff. And again, I wasn't consistent with it because there was so much else going on with my life. Mm-hmm. But once I found a groove, it became one of those things that I would do just because it's a new, cool, creative form of expression. Like, I get to wear all this crazy makeup and these crazy shoes and these extravagant clothes. Like, this is cool. I get paid to play dress up. This is cool.
Play dress up.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think this is an excellent transition straight into chapter 2, the middle. But before we tackle that, I do want to ask you some things, based on what you were saying earlier on. You had said your older sibling, I guess he was a better drawer than you were, so he kind of inspired you, with wanting to draw more, or at least wanting to get better at your ability to draw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I and it's funny that you said that you're number 3, out of 5, right? So, you've clearly made a career out of modeling, out of your creativity, your art.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you reached a point where your creativity has excelled that of your brothers? I'm not saying better. I'm saying that your creativity has excelled that of your brothers.
If we're talking like in terms of how many eyes have seen my work, absolutely. Yeah. I don't draw anymore.
Okay, right.
That's one of those skills. Like, I would have to go buy me a sketchbook and make some intentional time to learn how to ride that bike again. So,
got you.
But I will say, in terms of just, if we're talking just how many people have seen my work, then definitely. We've also all taken, like, I think drawing was like the start for all of us because it was the easiest thing to have access to. With my mom, when my parents separated, my mom became a single parent essentially. So out of 5 kids, 4 of us do a lot of art stuff, and so it's just any materials she could get her hands on for us, we had it. Like, sketchbooks and pencils were usually color pencils, crayons, all that stuff. So we kind of worked with what we had.
Yeah.
So we were always drawing, we were always coloring. But I think that was just the foundation for where we all kind of started creatively. Because now my oldest brother, who was the catalyst, I guess, for the rest of us who create, because he would, when I say these drawings were magnificent, like, he could look at something and draw it and shade it, and it looked really cool. But then that foundation went from just being a creative, going from that to somehow that led to him doing producing and engineering, which led to him doing because now he does stuff with cars. Like he's really good with interior and exterior work on cars. So that's his thing now. That's been his thing consistently, probably for the last 20 years, something like that.
One of the reason why I asked that, because that always when anyone ever says that to me, I credit their beginnings or their growth in their art. They credit it to a sibling. That very much was my situation. My older brother, he started out being a much better drawer than I was.
Yeah.
I always felt that I knew he was better than me, but I always felt that I was more creative. What I mean by that is, I remember one time my sister had to, it was during Black History Month. We were living in Queens at the time, and she had to, what was she? I think she was doing something on Frederick Douglass. I can't remember, but anyway, she said she needed a drawing of a slave at that time, and my father told, okay, well, he told her, well, you don't know how to draw. She didn't. She wasn't good. She just wasn't. I love her, but she wasn't good. So he said, no. I want the report to look good and everything. You have to draw a picture. Fine. Have your brothers do it. So I was like, have your brothers do it, and we'll go with the best one. So instantly, I'm like, okay, I'm about to draw something better than this guy. Anyway, so we drew it. I remember he drew a guy with like a bag on his back, and it was supposed to have cotton in it, and it was in a field. I drew it's like a young, you could tell it was I think it was a young boy. He had these 2 buckets. You could tell his clothes were all disheveled and everything. And the look on his face, it was the look of what you would think a young Black child during that time's face would look like. And I mean, I got it good. Like the first thing you noticed was his face. I had bruises on him. The clothes really looked good.
You went all out with their drawing.
Yeah. They went with my brother's drawing. And I was like, audacity. I said, what? And the thing was, well, he's in a field. You can clearly tell that's cotton in his bag. This looks more like a slave than yours. And I said, and I just kept thinking to myself, like, but look at all that I did. So anyway, in hindsight, the actual illustration, his was better. But mine was far more creative. Far more creative. And I remember the neighborhood, they had a comic book club, just on the block. It wasn't nothing. And when we moved on the block, we had found out about it, and I was like, okay, well, you got to draw a submission and and then he made the club. I did. I was just like, not again. But I never was mad at him. Never. I was never mad at him. I always looked up to his art ability. What it made, I always knew I was better, though. I always knew my stuff was better. So I just kept on going, and I just kept on going. And then I realized later on that I wasn't necessarily, at the time, that's what I thought it was. I thought I was just pushing myself to be better than him. But then I realized that it wasn't that. I realized, later on as an adult, I realized that no, the push was because I'm a creative. I cannot create. I gotta do it. I gotta be drawing something, or if I'm painting, then I gotta be painting. Or if I'm wood carving, I gotta be wood carving. These ideas are coming. And I just, I didn't understand that that's what that was at the time. I just thought it was me trying to be better than my brother. But that desire in me as a creative, it got me to the point where, it's like now, I mean, if we both sit down, it's not even a comparison. But to be straight up, unlike me, your brother is a creative through and through. My brother, it was something he could do. He wasn't necessarily, he wasn't really into it like that. When you're younger, he did it more. But as he got older and found the things he really cared for, he kind of left that alone. But it still served as a major inspiration for me, because I always accredit my earlier starting years, just like you said, what was accessible to us. We was living in the projects, pencil and paper. If you didn't have a drawing book specific for that, and you were drawing on your marble class notebook, it's like that's what you was doing. You was drawing on something. So but yeah, and I think that I don't know. I don't want to say that. I'll say this. I think that is a lot of our story.
Yeah.
Some situation, especially if we had siblings, where we were inspired to do, X, Y, Z, and it kind of really took from there.
Yeah, because my little brother, he still draws. Like, when I say this guy is phenomenal, my little brother, the way he shades things, the way he draws it. He's actually been featured a couple times. He lives out near Nashville. That's about a 3.5-4 hour drive from here. He's on the other side of Nashville. So he's been featured in a couple galleries out there.
He's got an Instagram?
Does
he show this stuff?
I'm sorry.
Does he show this stuff? He's got an Instagram?
Yeah. He has an Instagram where he just posts all his drawings.
Give it up. What is it?
That is.
I need to DM him.
Ken West, KenWest, Ken West, the artist.
KEN.
Yes, WEST.
Okay.
Ken West, the artist. And he's done portraits for like ex-NFL players before, because he does a lot of sports and music stuff. But he's really, really, really good. But he's the only one out of all of us that still draws like on a regular basis.
Bring one, come one, come all, for real. Yeah. You said something else. You said, and I think this ends up happening to a lot of us, as we deal with life and we haven't found our niche yet or whatever. You said losing your creative spark. When you when you had to start taking on a huge part of the responsibility of you and your family. What was that like? Not going into the, you don't have to go into the, the necessarily the hardships of why that was happening, but more so as it relates to your creativity. Like, what did you feel you were losing, or what could you recognize that, dag, I don't even want to draw, or I don't even want to, explain how that was happening.
I was in survival mode. I was in survival mode hard. So it was more so me not making the time to create. Like, my mind was just tunnel vision elsewhere. So I still had access to creativity at some point, because, mind you, I had started college 2 years after my mom's diagnosis. So I'm coming into my 20s at that point. And so going to college, you going to art school, we had to make projects. We had to have something to present. So it's like, when I first started, I had this fire, this spark, like, oh yeah, I got all these great ideas, and this is how I'm gonna do it, that's how I'm gonna do it. And by my third year of college, I was just I wasn't putting my passion, it wasn't a passion anymore for me. I was doing it for a grade at that point.
Got it.
So having to work within the parameters of a certain project that the professor gives you, I would just do the most surface level, let me just get this grade. So I had stopped at some point putting my heart into it. I was creating for the sake of just creating, and not even creating for the sake of creating to inspire me to do something else. Like, there's a difference between creating to create when you have the passion to create, and then there's creating to create when you just have to do something. Like, and me creating to create for a grade, I was just trying to get it out the way. One less thing I got to worry about. So it went from just having tons of ideas on how I'm going to portray this thing and that thing, and what type of film am I going to use? How am I going to develop this image? Like, it went from that to just, okay, we got A, B, C, D. We have to meet these requirements in order to, So I realized then that, like, I'm not doing this because I'm passionate about it. And that's something I've been passionate about my entire life. So recognizing that shift, after that, I did take some time to just get my life together. And that's when I feel like, in a way, modeling kind of saved my creative brain, because it was still being able to give input on how things are going to look, how things should feel. Because for me, it's I don't just take pictures. Like, I want like a whole vibe. I want a whole essence. Like, I want the type of art that's timeless. I don't want, especially in this day and age with social media, you could just scroll right on past something and not think about it anymore. So it's like, anytime I am sharing work, I want that to be something that people think about. And that segues into
Chapter 2, the middle. Too. Without further ado, Chapter 2, the middle. Go ahead.
So the middle, let's see. Yeah, so this was when I was transitioning out of college, because I left my third year in, so I didn't even finish school. I left my third year in, mostly to just balance everything out. And around this time, of course, I'm still doing modeling. And so the spark that I lost for just doing fine art, and they define fine art as like painting, photography, sculpture, stuff you do with your hands. So I was still able to express my creative self through modeling. And so I had started taking on more runway shows. I had joined a group back in the day. It was like a group of models from all walks of life. And once a month we would put on these like productions, these shows, these themed fashion shows. And for a while, it was a big thing. Revolutionary Runway was the name of the group. Revolutionary Runway. Oh my God.
You just took yourself back.
I did. I definitely did. And so just having a hand in just costuming and makeup and what things should look like and what the music choices should be, having a hand in that form of creativity was what helped to spark a whole different flame that I didn't realize I had. Because, like I said before, modeling wasn't something I necessarily wanted to get into. It wasn't something that was on my goal list. I kind of fell into it by doing photography. So the more I would do runway and fashion shows, like, people just started paying more attention to that versus my fine artwork.
Your fine artwork.
Mind you, I wasn't doing that consistently enough at the time anyway. So it went from, oh, Khalifa's a photographer, film photographer, she's an artist, to Khalifa the model. And for me, it took me a while to just be okay with that, because I'm like, that's not something I wanted to do. That wasn't my plan, but it took me a while to stop downplaying just how good I was
Good
at what
you
I was
are.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did a lot of fashion shows. I did a lot of photo shoots. And that transitioned into, I've always been a very fashionable person anyway. Because my aunt that I told you about in the beginning of the interview, she is
the one who gave you the cup.
She is probably the most fabulous woman I know in my life. Like, my entire life, she's always had her nails done. Her hair always has to look good. Wears high heels all the time. Makeup, like that was just her. And I just thought she was the most glamorous person I'd ever seen. So I was, as a kid, always planning her stuff. Always, when I would visit Dallas, I'm putting on the perfume, I'm putting on the makeup, I'm putting on the clothes. And so somewhere in the midst of just all the modeling and stuff too, I found a love for just fashion in general. And growing up and not having a ton of money, you know, when you have older siblings, whatever they can't fit, just pass it down. Just pass it on down. It's not full of holes. It's wearable.
I know that all too well.
And so being the first girl after, you know, two brothers, because I'm in the middle, sometimes my clothes would just be Ninja Turtle t-shirts or whatever clothes they couldn't fit anymore. So, and I was a girly girl. I was big on wearing dresses and poofy stuff. And so I had to kind of figure out a way to incorporate that. And so that just kind of always stuck with me, to where if my grandma was getting rid of some clothes, I wanted them. If my aunt was getting rid of some clothes, I wanted them. If my mom was getting rid of some clothes, I wanted them. So in college, I was wearing a lot of vintage stuff. This was before, you know, vintage stuff was cool. Before everybody wants a vintage, you know, jacket or whatever. So I just kind of had to learn how to incorporate different styles to make mine more definitive for who I felt like I was. And so with the modeling, that led to me eventually getting a feature in the Memphis Flyer, which is a local magazine. And that came about from me just thrifting my outfits. This was around the time Instagram was really starting to gain traction, and it was literally just an app for posting pictures. So I would take pictures of the clothes I would wear and just post my outfit. And that started to garner a lot of attention too. And that was something I didn't think would happen, because it's like, I'm just posting because I think my outfit looks good today. And so that just eventually led to me getting featured in a local newspaper for sustainable fashion.
Nice.
And that just kind of happened. Like, it was another one of those things that I didn't expect to happen on the path that I've taken with modeling. And so the more I would post, the more it would gain traction. Like, people were seeing the stuff that I was doing. I didn't understand why, because to me, it's like, I just think I look cool today. So I'm gonna post this picture.
I just think I look cool today. That's all.
I just think I look cool, but if this is what it's gonna get me, awesome. And so I would just put these outfits together, take and post pictures, and that would be that. And it turned into this whole, oh, you're well known for having a sustainable fashion wardrobe, because I thrift a lot. If I'm not thrifting it, I'm getting it, like I said, from my mom or aunt. So it's just been a whole combination of like how these things all just kind of come full circle. It's like I could start over here with this one creative thing, and it bounces me from there to there to there to there. And the people I've met along the way have been a big catalyst for that too. Because Memphis is not that big. I don't know if you've ever been to Tennessee or Memphis at all, or the South.
I've been to Nashville 3 years ago, but
Okay.
there's this really big fancy hotel in Nashville. Can't
Mm-hmm.
remember the name of it right now, but anyway, I was there for a conference back in my learning and development days. But I didn't leave the hotel, so I can't really say I've been to Nashville.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah. Well, Memphis is it's not big, but it's not small. But it's also like if you fit in any type of circle, you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody.
gotcha.
So it's small. So if you're an artist or a creative in any way, shape, or form, you probably know this, that, and the third. Even if you've never met them, you could be like, "Oh, yeah, I know this person's face, or I know this person's work." So Memphis is not that big, so it's not that hard to like meet people who do cool things, who do other cool things, who can help you do other cool things. So but yeah, let's see, I ended up getting international. Well, I'll go back a little bit. In 2010, I think was when I got my first local publication.
Okay.
And it was for a magazine not even in this state. And for me, that was a big deal because it's like, whoa, like people really actually enjoy what I'm doing. Like this is really cool. And so that modeling group I told you about, Revolutionary Runway, we would do these themed photo shoots before the themed runway show.
Okay.
And so we would release these flyers online for like, this show is coming up and this is coming up. And that's how I ended up getting in touch with the photographer who eventually ended up submitting this work to a magazine in Denver, Colorado. So I was wearing like this paper dress made of, like, the photographer had made these giant roses out of paper. So I had on like this giant headpiece and this big old white dress made out of paper. And it ended up getting published in a magazine. So yeah, that was my first publication. And so after that, it's just been, I've done so much stuff. Sometimes I forget, like it'll be like, oh yeah, like I did do this thing.
That's great. Success, obviously there's different levels of success. But success in the form of notoriety. I think that means so much to creatives. As I've said before in the other interviews, obviously I want to make money,
we all got to eat.
Right. And obviously I want to make money doing something I love doing and that I'm interested in doing and that I want to do. So yeah, that's a huge goal. Like Chef Jamila B said, if you haven't found a way to make money off of this, then it's just a hobby.
Yeah, especially in this economy, we can't.
Big time, right? So I mean, obviously, yes, that's clearly a major concern to make money. But I'm not a creative because of that. I don't write because I'm looking to sell books. Selling books is a byproduct.
Yeah.
I am an author because I love writing stories, and then I want you to read them. If I paint, I want you to see this painting. If I draw, I want you to see this drawing. My real joy as it relates to my creativity is letting it get out there. I want you to see it. I want you to get invested in it, and then I want you to like it or hate it, whatever. But I that's what it is for me. I do this because I got to get it out, and then I want to share it. I want everybody to see it, you know. So, yeah, it's the money's the money obviously is necessary and stuff, and you know, like that's the byproduct. But I think with creatives is, you know, first we can't not do it, right? Because it's too much of a part of us, and then I don't know a single creative who doesn't want to show their work. I know they exist, very much so, but I don't know a single creative doesn't want to show their work. If not, only to a certain person. You know, it's like, okay, I want to show you, but I don't want no one else to look at it. But you still want to at least show someone. You know, I don't know a single creative, somebody you know this person, but I don't know, you know them for years, right? You know, we go back like fat shoelaces, you know, and then then come to find out, you paint? Oh yeah, sure. I've been painting for 50 years, you know, but I don't want nobody to know. I don't know any creative like that. You know what I'm saying? It seems like we all really want to get that out there. You've stated a lot about how you got into modeling and why you know, model and you know, the notoriety you gain from it. Obviously, it has gotten to a point where you're actually earning a living from it. And you also stated how that was never the initial goal.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So the question that I would like to ask you now is, has modeling become your true heart's desire? If so, when did that happen?
I would say in a way.
Okay.
In a way. I look at modeling as like a performance art.
Yes, I agree.
One of the biggest things for me was learning how to navigate going from just being a creative person to being known just for my face. And so with social media, you know, people have a tendency to already kind of create this idea of who you are before they even meet you. And for me, again, it was one of those things I had to just learn to accept. Like, I'm a naturally shy person, so it's like, yeah, my persona and my energy may seem big, just, you know, based on, I mean, it is, but just based off the things people can see online, they already have these preconceived notions of, I guess, how I'm going to come across to them. And I think that was one of the biggest things I had to learn to kind of juggle, on top of just being okay with the fact that this is what it is. And I look at it as performance art because I do have to learn how to talk to people. I have had to learn how to come off as approachable. Because I'm the type, if there's enough people in the room, I'm usually trying to skirt this way just so I can kind of observe a little bit. So it's interesting. It's been an interesting ride. Just learning how to navigate all that and juggle, you know, where it is that I feel like I've gone, and trying to not downplay that just because it wasn't something that I initially wanted for myself.
Right.
But there are so many creative things you can do with modeling that I kind of just had to pave my own way with it, because when I started, I had like a bunch of visible piercings and stuff. And of course, this was the time when modeling, you were expected to look a certain way all the time. And here I was, this bald Black woman with piercings and big earlobes and taking all these pictures. And so I've had to deal with, people telling me that, oh, you have to change this and change that, and I'm like, for what? That's not me. That's not authentic to me or my creativity. Now I'm offended because you done told me I have to do it your way.
Right.
So it's been a very interesting journey, like just figuring out where I can place myself comfortably, but also comfortably enough to where I can be uncomfortable. Okay. Because anything I've created, I don't know if it's just part of my personality, but it's if it gets people talking, whether it's good or bad, they're gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
The art is gonna evoke an emotion, so it's. I just look at modeling as just, like I said, a performance art. I get to show my creativity in other different ways. I'm not just standing there looking pretty, taking a picture. Like, I usually have a lot of say so, and the photographs or the photo shoots that I do, if I do any fashion shows, I usually try to have a hand in the creative process, because at the end of the day, I have become my own brand. Yes. Which is weird to say too, but I've become my own brand.
You are,
yeah. It's like I have to. If my name is on it, I want it to look a certain way.
Yeah, you gotta own it.
Yeah.
You one of the things that you mentioned is definitely something that we face. How people would say, oh well, you need to look like this and so on and so forth. I was interviewing wonderful painter DeMar Douglas, and he had said something that, like I said, we all experience it, but when he said it, I don't know why it resonated with me so much. Even though I always felt it and knew it, he said that we are the only ones that are asked to change. We're the only ones. We're the only ones that are told, oh no, you can't do 5 different things.
Yeah.
This is the lane that we want you in, and you got to stay in this lane and and never veer from. We are the only ones that are told that. It's just, I always have a huge respect for creatives who play the game. No, this is my creative field, and this is where the industry wants me to stay, so I stay there. I got huge respect for them, and I also got a huge respect for those creators who say, bump that. I do it all. Okay?
And I do it all well.
I'm gonna do it all. Like the artist that I was just talking about, DeMar, he was saying to me, look, I just got 6 notifications while we were speaking. And they were all for 6 different things that I do outside of just painting on canvas. Now, if I stuck myself to just canvas, that means that's 5 other opportunities would have never came my way.
Yeah.
And but it's interesting when he said that. I was like, that's so true. We are the only ones that are told, no, you have to stay in here. This is you don't do anything else. You can't do anything else. Yeah. We don't want anything else from you. We just want this from you. And it's like, that's so crazy. It's like, how silly do you sound stifling the creative? Like,
stifling the creative.
Why would you stifle the creative?
You're supposed to fan that flame, not try to put it out.
Not try to put it out, or put it in a bottle that you care for.
Trying to safely contain a creative.
Yeah, it's like that. That's it. Me and you, Khalifa, we're going to start some shirts. Stop trying to contain the creative. We're going to go out. We're going to start in Memphis and take it all the way to New York. This gotta stop. This has gotta stop. So before we transition into chapter 3, and correct me if I'm wrong, because modeling kind of just happened for you, and kind of the same way it just happened, it was like when it just happened for you, it simultaneously just happened with money. Right? Like it's like, oh, I want to take a picture of you and pay you. You know, it was like when somebody, you know, it wasn't just like, oh, you look nice like that, let me take some more pictures. It was like literally model and money at the same time. So because that's kind of how it started, and then you saw just what it can be and what it became for you, you know, as it related to both, as it related to you being a magnificent model, and then on top of that, in addition to that, getting paid. Has the work ever gotten to the point where, all right, now I'm just taking this job because of the pay, versus no, I'm going to turn down that one because I'd much rather model for this, even though that one's paying a whole lot more. But I find more joy modeling for this over here, so I'm going to go do that. Has that ever happened, or and when it did you know, what did you say to yourself?
Oh, absolutely.
What do you stay true to?
I will always stay true to the creative me. I will always stay true to the me who understands having grace and decorum, and because I was raised that way. So I've done enough stuff outside the box that's like black sheepish enough for my family to be like, oh my God, but this is amazing. There have definitely been, just with anything, you have to kind of get a feel for what's really happening around you. Like they say, all money ain't good money. So there have definitely been photo shoots or other modeling gigs that I've turned down just from, if I get that initial something don't feel right, I'll pass. Like I can refer you to some other people who might be able to refer you to some other people, but yeah, I've definitely turned down a good number of modeling gigs just because the vibe wasn't right, or me overlooking their portfolio was too beginner for where I am in my career.
Gotcha.
So yeah, and then there's I got to give a shout out to one photographer who I've been working with now for almost 15 years. Erica Dunlap. Erica Dunlap is phenomenal. I can't even just call her a photographer. She's a creative, because she's been painting and doing all this other cool creative stuff too outside of photography. But I've worked with her a lot. So she's one of those people who has also inspired me and gave me a lot of insight on just how to navigate. It's almost like we, in a way, like, of course, she's a little older than I am, but having known her for so long and worked with her so frequently, there are things that she told me 15 years ago that still sticks with me to this day. Anytime I do a shoot, anytime I'm about to book something, she's just one of those people. She's phenomenal. So I think about some of the things she's told me still when I'm accepting a job or not accepting a job. So it's definitely a matter of, you know, I truly understand that all money ain't good money. And I understand now that I have a certain brand, and if I'm going to rebrand, I'm going to be in full, complete control of that. But yeah, I've definitely turned down some jobs just because I wasn't feeling it. So, yeah.
I have questions for photographers. So, you know, I'm definitely going to send her a message. But let's jump back in to the third chapter, which is the continuation.
I think where we left off was probably right around the time I was getting notoriety for the clothes I was wearing.
Right.
Then getting featured on the cover, and had 2 inserts for the Memphis Flyer.
Right.
And I had to make sure I had this within reach.
Oh snap!
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
so proud of
snap.
it.
You better be.
But that was 2019.
You,
Um,
are you going to frame that?
yes, I have
Yes.
a few of
Okay.
these copies. They were like, we have these little. Well, you're from New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all still have like the newspaper things outside
Little
where you can like pick up
bins
a
like out.
free?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, yeah.
So that
Hmm.
was inside of those around the
That's a
city.
New York thing.
No, I mean I was just asking because I know New York is like
Oh,
a big city.
okay. I was gonna say, I'm like, they don't have that other places. I would have thought that's just
Yeah, but like
okay.
with social media, they kind of stopped really printing newspapers, which is weird. But
Well, yeah, it's true. Yeah, it is. This is true. But no, New York. Yeah, they still got them. Backstage. I'm you sure you've heard of? Maybe you've heard of Backstage. Have you heard of Backstage? No,
mm-mm.
that. No, not Backstage. What about The Voice?
The Voice, yeah.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. So you
Mhm.
can still see those. You can still find those. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But those were like all around the city, so I would just stop and
Mm-hmm.
take a couple. My
Yeah.
friends would see it and they had me like sign it and stuff. It was really cool. Um, but yeah. Oh, and I don't know why. Like, so I'm a mother. For people who don't know me, I'm a mom. I have 2 kids, 2 beautiful children, 12 and 7.
Girls, boys.
I have both. So I have my daughter, Draven, is 12, and my son,
Okay.
Sebastian, is 7. So my daughter was born in 2012, and that's when I took, a little hiatus from just modeling, creating, period. I was focused on other things at the time. But she's also a creative.
Oh.
She's a painter, she sculpts,
Nice.
she draws, she writes poetry and short stories. She's really just into anything of like the goth aesthetic. So this time of year for her is like, this is awesome. But yeah,
can you tell, like, can you look at her and realize that, oh, you're still finding your thing, right? Because out of all the things that she's doing.
Yeah. I mean, I could tell that this is something she's planning to do for the rest of her life. She's already expressed that a million times, and all I can do as a parent is try to make that happen for her.
Yeah.
But she's the school she currently attends, she's there on their art program. So she's in middle school, but she's at this school specifically for their art program. So with the art program she's in, it's fine arts and writing kind of go hand in hand for her.
Nice.
So she's been doing really cool stuff like making backdrops for theater. They recently did a thing with her school where it was like Hispanic heritage. There's like a big thing, like a big program, and she got to make these really cool things for the ofrenda, and so it's cool. Like she dabbles in everything, and everything she wants to dabble in, she takes the time to not perfect, but to get better. In 2022, my daughter decided she wanted to draw people. Drawing people. Yeah. So I was saying now that she draws people better than I do. She's just naturally good at it.
She's just really naturally good at it.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing for so many reasons when you're looking at your children grow up. My 13-year-old, she's got the gift.
They always got the gift.
Yeah, got the gift. She's just drawing now, mainly illustrations. She's into anime, so a lot of her stuff looks like that. Funny enough, I was, like I said, she's into anime, so a lot of her stuff looks like that. And then, I said, I obviously everything she showed me, I'm always, oh, this is so great, and so on and so forth, because I want to continue to build that, and but I said, you know I always love your things, but this was about 2 years ago. 4 years ago, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
Look, after 2020, time has become like, I don't know.
For real, like it's crazy. It's been the case since I hit my 40s. It's just like I can't keep up. But
Black don't crack. Said when you hit your 40s.
What'd you say?
I said black don't crack because you said when you hit your 40s.
Yeah. Oh yes. Well, thank you. I mean, I do model a little bit. No, let me stop. No, but yeah, I mean, once I hit my 40s, it's like, what? That was when? What? Are you serious? I'm that old? What? That was how many years ago? Mm-hmm. But about 4 years ago, I remember I said, I love everything you do, but none of your characters look like you. None of them look like me, and I'm like your mother, they look like your brother. I'm like, I'm not saying don't continue to do this, but why don't you try drawing some characters that look like you, drawing some black characters?
Want to see some braids and some afros?
Yeah, something, and I just mentioned it, and she did it, and then she kind of went right back to what she was doing before. But that was all right, because that was what? She was 9.
Yeah.
9. But I still wanted to plant the seed of, learn to, love yourself too now.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, but what did happen was about 2 years ago, same anime style, but they had brown skin. Same anime style, but they had braids. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So it's fine. But so the 13-year-old, she's very good at illustrating. I need my wife for this one. 8, 9. I'm gonna go with 9. We're saying 9. So my 9-year-old, I just like me and my brother. My 13-year-old, she's very good. She's always been very good. Mm-hmm. My 9-year-old, their drawings aren't, they're 9-ish, right? now some 9-year-olds are just super creative. They're like, yo, this is great for an adult, right? But the typical 9-year-old type drawing. But she is a creative. My wife, she homeschools, so when she always includes art in everything we do, and she, so if she says, okay, she reads them a book, she's always reading them books. Reads them a book about, I don't know, fall, right? And she's like, okay, so draw this was about a squirrel eating an acorn. So draw a squirrel holding an acorn. My 13-year-old will draw a really magnificent squirrel holding an acorn. Beautiful. My 9-year-old will draw a squirrel, but it's got an acorn in one hand and it's digging into the ground to put another acorn in, and then the tree has acorns falling from it, and one of the leaves are wrapping around other acorns, and there just so happens to be another squirrel trying to steal that acorn. Like, and I mean, she will never give you exactly what you asked for. Never. And I just love it so much because that's me. Oh, that's so me. One of the hardest things I had to learn how to do, because once you start putting your work out there, you do have to pay attention to at some point what the industry is looking for or whatever. So having to understand that, look, this is what I want, and especially when I started to do commission stuff, that was the worst for me. I don't even do a lot of commissions. I don't do it anymore at all. It killed me. It's like, okay, this is what I want. Okay. And then I do my thing, like, oh, okay, but I wanted this. I'm like, yeah, I know what you wanted. What you wanted was whack. But this this is what you want. Yeah. My wife, she was a school teacher for 12 years. She would always have me do her bulletin boards, right? New seasons come around, do her bulletin board.
I think you mentioned this in a KB's interview
I
too.
did. I know. Okay. Yeah. There you go.
Just,
I mean, it's just like she's just always like, okay, listen, this is what I want, and I just be like, I don't even know why you're asking me. I don't even know why you're asking me. You know what I'm gonna do. It's it's just, but anyway, that's just it's like I gotta do something. I gotta spin it, twist it, something.
Juice it up a little bit.
Yeah, I just can't. It's like I do that with my own stuff. You know how many times I have to tell myself, okay, that's enough. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Don't add anymore. Like it's not just other things with people want. With me, it's like I have an idea, I do it, and then next thing you know, it's like, what if I did this? And a lot of times I gotta be like, just stop, walk away. Yeah. I'm writing something. I'll add too much. It's like because the ideas just keep coming. But when it's just this is so lovely to see that in your children.
Yeah,
see how they're like, oh, he's doing what I used to do, or
yeah.
I want to ask you a question. But I'm going to try to word myself in such a way where it's not offensive. You, as a model, are aware of wonderful things about modeling, how beautiful that world can be, how gratifying, how joyful the industry can be, how just magnificent the artistry of modeling is and can be.
Right.
At the same time, as an accomplished model, you are very much aware of all of the horrors that happen, that can happen, as far as modeling is concerned. And we're talking horrors, traumatic, everything, all kinds. The people, the places, the everything.
Yeah.
Now, with that, if your daughter said, Mom, I want to model, would you let her?
I would, but I would have to become like a momager.
Yes.
Let me go with you. Like I need to understand like all the things you're doing, the people you're meeting. I think that just comes with parenthood anyway. I don't think we ever let that go because even at my age, I'm 37. Even at my age, my mom will be like, "Oh, well, you're going this place, but you're by yourself. I need your location. Who you gonna be with? I need phone numbers." So and I'm also big on just not placing my own experiences onto my children, but like not placing my own experiences onto them to where I want them to be fearful of the things that they decide that they want to do. But just understand, I'm gonna be in your business.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be all in your business. So I would support it if she wanted to model. Surprisingly, she hates taking photographs. She hates taking photographs. But if that were something she wanted to pursue, I would support it. But I would also make it understood that, hey, y'all finna have a talk. I'm gonna be sitting in the corner, reading my book, but I'm still paying attention to what's being said and what's being done. So I would definitely educate on like the pros, the cons, the in-betweens. I would just knowing what I know, I would have to be involved. In some kind of way.
Yeah. Okay, so I think it passed, right? It wasn't offensive.
No, not at all.
Okay, good.
Not at all.
I felt it was an interesting question to ask. I know I'm trying to liken it to something in my life. Me and my wife, we met online through Facebook. It's so funny. There were two situations in my life. Side note, two situations in my life where I thought adamantly about one thing. I mean, I thought this way, and there was nothing that was going to change my mindset about it. Nothing at all. This is what I thought about, and couldn't change it. And then experience completely made me make a 180. I mean, completely. One of those situations was online dating. I was a poster child for being against online dating. Like, that is the dumbest thing you can do. Da, 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 da. How sick are you? It's blah, 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 blah. How pathetic are you? Da, 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 da. You know, I was completely against it. Completely against it for the longest. You know, when online dating was becoming a thing, right? And it was a thing. I was so against it.
Yeah.
And then I met my wife on Facebook.
And everything changed.
It's for real. It's like, but with that being said, so now getting back on track. When I told my daughter how we met, and she was like, "Would you let me meet somebody online?" I was like, "Hell no, no, never, ever. No, you can forget it. No, that is not happening." And it's just so funny. It's like, I knew my wife wasn't taking a chance because I know I'm not a freak. You know what I'm saying? So I knew she was in good hands.
It's not a secret serial killer. Like.
Yeah, exactly. I knew she was in perfectly good hands. But it's like, I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe if when the time comes and we just can't find nobody for you, then I guess that's an option. But
the vetting process is going to be strenuous.
oh boy, just for real. It's just I will never say that my way of parenting is the way. I know enough to know that that's stupid.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to do what they feel makes some sense to them and what they're comfortable with. And for me, man, I can't. I just can't. Yeah. So I if I was a model as you're had your exact experiences, and my daughter said it, I would shut her down so quick. No, are you kidding me? No. What have you seen? Why do you want to do this?
Right, absolutely not.
Just absolutely not. But I mean, and luckily enough for me, I married a woman who thinks the same exact way. So we don't have to be at heads about it. But once again, I mean, like you did say something that was very interesting, and you can't dismiss it. It can't be dismissed. I don't want your fears to be I don't want my fears to be your fears.
Right.
And it's just, I mean, we're parents. We can't. I'm going to put a lot of me on you by default. How can I not? You know what I'm saying? I'm raising you. And at the same time, I don't apologize for it. This is the way. Yeah, this is the way I know how to do it, and I think I'm doing it right. And you were entrusted with me, so
yeah.
But it's still true. It's like, my life doesn't have to be your life. Perception is an amazing thing, and it is one of the most uniquest things that you can ever have.
Yeah.
And how you tackle stuff can be very different from how I tackle stuff. How you see things, how you compute it. It's just, that's the truth of the matter, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is, this world can jack you up
in a heartbeat,
and chew you up and spit you out and bury you, and there you will stay
with no remorse whatsoever.
With no freaking remorse whatsoever, and then turn around and repeat it again with somebody else. And I just that moves, or that gauges everything I do in my life with you. Everything,
And it should.
And,
Like,
yeah.
times have changed so much from when, we were kids. Like, even just coming up at a time where, our parents or any other elders who's older than us, they had pagers and payphones and landlines, and coming up at a time where the internet was still new. So everything has changed. And even when the internet was new, we didn't have as much at our, we just can't find certain things. Like,
you literally have the world in your hand.
Because now we have phones with internet.
Exposure to everything, things that you can't even imagine, right there. So it's just, but yeah, it's always fun. It's always interesting to see how your children grow up and start to embody creativity as a whole, especially if they start to embody something that you did or you do, you were really good at or are good at. I love that. Before I get into my generic questions, I wanted to ask you something. You didn't say it. You were the first one I've interviewed thus far who didn't mention it. So everyone I've mentioned, including myself, COVID played if not a definitive part in their creative journey, it played a major part in their creative journey. I know it's very much for our Mercedes, but for Sincerely Antoinette, that's what brought about her whole metal artistry, making a pendant during COVID, and then it just spawned from there. It grew from there. Did COVID play a major part in your creative journey?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right when it was a month before lockdown was like a nationwide thing. I know bigger cities had already started to shut down certain places. I was transitioning from, I was working at the Brooks Museum. It's a local museum here in Memphis. I was working at the Brooks Museum, and I had decided to leave that job to work for a local gallery. So shout out to Rev Boo Contemporary. They are absolutely amazing. So I was transitioning from working at a museum to working for a much smaller artistic space. Like, it went from people coming in to consume art to I'm working directly with business at that point, because a gallery is all about, we're displaying this art, but it's also for sale.
Right.
So I was transitioning from that job to that job, and literally, I want to say probably a week after I started, maybe even 2 weeks, a week to 2 weeks after I started at the gallery, lockdown happened. And so it was just, I had, of course, being a parent, I still didn't have a ton of time, because now I'm with kids all the time. But it definitely helped in my creativity. And I was talking about this the other day. I did the most traveling in 2020. Because once lockdown was starting to lift for certain places, for certain things, like, you had the whole, you still got to be 6 feet apart from people, you have to wear a mask, and so once they started to implement that and start to slowly open places back up, people still weren't traveling, so travel was really cheap. It was really cheap just to get around. And Dallas is like a second home to me. I've been going back and forth between Memphis and Dallas pretty much my whole life, still to this day. Like, I was just out there 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So I remember I went to Dallas like 3 or 4 times. I went to New Orleans. I went to Nashville. Nashville, if you're a Memphian, is just a day trip drive. It's like 3 hours away.
Okay.
But I did so much traveling during 2020, just visiting museums, looking at galleries. just doing any artsy stuff I could find. And being a tourist even in my own city. Because Memphis has a lot of cool, we just have a lot of cool, unique stuff. And that was when I really started to appreciate Memphis for what it is and what it's trying to become. Like, yeah, we're Southern, so we move a little slower. We do things a little slower sometimes, but I became a tourist in my own city, and I was finding inspiration in just a lot of stuff. It could be the color of a building. It could be the way people greet and talk to each other here. It was pretty much like traveling was that. So traveling, seeing more art, either inside the city or outside the city. I was just finding new stuff all around the place, like new stuff that I didn't know I was inspired by until I actually saw it or experienced it.
Nice.
Yeah. So I went through, I think we all kind of at some point went through some form of existential crisis during 2020 and 2021, because that was like, we're transitioning out of what the F was that?
Yeah, exactly.
And y'all just expect us now to go back to normal. How does that happen? So it definitely gave me a lot of drive, because it showed me just how short life can actually be.
Yeah.
And that was the last time I actually watched the news, was in 2020. I got sick of hearing it. I was like, well, if this invisible thing is gonna take me out, it's gonna take me out doing something that I love. So and I was also juggling homeschooling, which actually it wasn't that hard because we were doing virtual. So as long as we had a laptop and an internet connection, and she had her uniform shirt on, like, we were good to go. So just being able to travel solo and with my kids, we got to do a lot of that, which was fun. So I definitely feel like it propelled me to really do things that makes me happy. And I know that creating makes me happy. So I was getting back into doing more things with my hands, like dabbling in this and dabbling in that. I definitely buckled down and got even more serious about my image, what am I trying to say with this? What am I doing with this? So it became more of, I'm putting myself into this. My name is on it. My face is on it. I want it to look a certain way. So there was a lot of, I guess, fine-tuning those forms of creativity, fine-tuning, or what I feel like was fine-tuning those avenues of creativity for me. So 2020 was, I wish we could go back into lockdown. I just put it that way. If we could do it again. If we could do it again without all the, global,
without all the devastation that was 2020, right?
Yeah.
It's so, oh man. It's so funny that you say that. Me and my I was a good friend of mine. We were talking, and he's married, I'm married, both been married for a while, both have children. And he was like, it's amazing how, as far as marriage is concerned, when it came to COVID, it was like you had one of two things. You had people realize that they want a divorce because they didn't realize just how much they hated living with this person.
I don't want to be in the house with this person anymore.
Or you had, in 9 months, COVID babies, because people love being around each other. It was so funny how
babies
that was the situation. And I'm going to tell you, outside of the devastation that was COVID, right? Because my mother did pass away in 2020.
Oh, my condolences.
Thank you. Outside of that, me and my wife were loving it. Like, first of all, we are very much homebodies. We can Netflix and chill like nobody's business. Okay? I mean, it's just like, we love it. I don't like taking my kids out. Not because I don't like taking them out because of me. It's just because I don't like people around my kids, man. You know, like when they be at the it's bad. I'm kind of sick with it, and I'll admit. Like at the park, right? Of course, there's gonna be other kids at the park.
I hate park days.
When they're playing, and then my kids are playing with each other, and then some other kids see them playing, they want to play. Immediately, I'm like, oh, okay, why are you coming over here? Why you want to play with me? You'll find somebody else to play. And it's just like, oh, I can't stand it. If they running around and they get bumped, I'm like, well, okay, it looked like you bumped my kid a little too hard. It's just like, it's bad. It's I get anxiety. I don't like it. So, we can just stay in the house, and I'm telling you, I loved it. It was great. Didn't have to go nowhere. No one wanted you to go anywhere. You weren't expected anywhere but in the house. And that's actually when I found out that I had a passion and a talent for writing.
Nice.
Yeah, like I said, I've been creative my whole life, I wrote poetry. I've been writing poetry since I was 12. But actually, actually building characters and knowing how to develop a story, I didn't. COVID is what brought that out. So, it was like, outside of all of the devastation, it definitely was a good time for me. Okay, so let's jump into the 6 questions that I ask all creatives, starting with the most simplistic one. Do you consider yourself a creative?
Absolutely. Through and through.
Everybody answers the question the same way. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. 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 I love that question. I love it. I asked that question because before I started thinking about the word creative, I never wanted to call myself an artist. Even though I never wanted to call myself an artist because of my admiration for other artists. I just was like, when people would see I'm like, oh man, usually like, oh, this, I'm all right. I'm not, I'm all right. I just didn't feel right. I'm like, how can I say I'm an artist as a painter and then look at this other person's work and knowing their work is 10 times better than mine ever could be, and then I'm putting myself in the same category. It was just something that I guess humbly I didn't accept. So I always want to know, do people consider themselves creative? A creative. Next question. What is the most frustrating thing about being a creative, in particular a model?
Ooh, for myself personally, I think the most frustrating thing is people think that I'm always in model mode. That I'm always wanting, my picture taken, or to not like the paparazzis follow me, nothing like that. But like I said, Memphis is not that big. And I'm a homebody. If I ain't got to be outside, I'm not out there. If I don't have to be out there, I'm not out there. So when people do see me out, they have a tendency to, I'm such and such from Facebook, and I'll be like, okay, hey, nice to meet you. So yeah, it's like I'll get people being like, do you mind if I take a video of you because they like my outfit? And I'm like, I didn't come here for that. Like I don't want to come off rude, but leave me alone.
Leave me alone. Yeah.
If I'm outside, I'm usually out with my boyfriend, who's also a creative that I want to mention. Oh. Yes. His handle on Instagram is Spek, SPEK. Spek was here, and he's engineer, producer. He's recently gotten really into directing like short films, and he's really, really, really good at that. So shout out to him.
Spek was here?
Yes. Yeah. That's another person I feel like, if you wanted to interview a musician, he'd be perfect. He plays a lot of instruments. He can sing. Yeah, he does a lot of cool creative stuff with music. But yeah, it's like if I'm not outside with him, if I'm not outside with my family, if I'm not outside with my kids.
How does he spell it?
SPEK, spec.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because there's another spec was here.
Oh,
and Lord. I'm like, are you sure he knows he's your boyfriend? Whoa.
But yeah,
I'm like, I wasn't gonna say nothing, but I'm like, oh, no about that. Okay, spec was here. Okay, all right, got it. Producer, audio engineer, DJ, Texas Warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm like, no, my spec knows. That man talks about me a lot. So.
Hey, look, when you're worth talking about, you talk about him all the time. I talk about my baby all the time. I talk about you all the time, baby. I don't know why people do that. I know that's not true. I know why they do it, but I just think sometimes, like, dig yourself. I mean, do you really think this person? This is what they do. Yes, they love it, but what the heck?
Yeah.
I remember, what Dave Chappelle had said on one of his on Dave Chappelle's show, and he's like, he took his family to Disney World, and they were like, someone was like, "Oh, hey, I'm Rick James, bitch," and he's just like, "Okay, my family's here, like, chill out, we take a day off,
Yeah, and not the time or the place.
Yeah, it's like, why do you think that this person? Oh, hey, you want to take a picture? Could you, like, why do you? I mean, I don't know what it is that you do professionally, but do you think that on your day off you want someone saying, "Hey, could you do that thing that you do professionally for me right now?" Like,
yeah.
I don't know why people are like that. So yeah, I could definitely see how that's extremely frustrating.
Yeah.
How often do you fall into a creative dry zone, and what do you do to get out of it?
Ooh. I'll say frequently enough. Frequently enough to where I can recognize when it's happening. And I'll usually free write. It's always something I've done since I was a kid. It's like, as I got older, I used to journal a lot when I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And I got into just like free writing when I was in high school. Because my art teacher would be like, to get some ideas out, because I'm not a sketchbook person. I'm horrible at keeping a sketchbook for ideas. Like, if I have an idea, it's better if I just write it down. Like, this is what I want to do, and these are the materials I'm going to use for it. So I'm more of like if I write it down, I know I'll do it. But if I'm trying to sketch something out, that ain't going to get finished. That's too much work for me. But I usually try to free write.
Okay.
Free writing helps me to just get out whatever's up here, just kind of like brain dumping.
Yes.
Kind of any ideas that I'm having, I just kind of write them down, even if they don't make sense. And I almost always come back to whatever I wrote, and in there somewhere is always something great that usually helps me to kind of get out of that slump, that creative slump. Yeah. So I found that free writing and just writing out any and every idea I have, no matter if it's a concept for a photo shoot, if it's something I want to make, what materials I'm going to use, what medium. So if it's something I can create, I'll usually try to find a way to do it. And that kind of helps me out a little bit. Yeah.
Good. That's I do that a lot, but I mean, I'm a writer, so yeah, I do that. But I didn't realize until I was drawing a blank when it came to writing just how much writing helps you get out of it. So to kind of make that make sense for anyone else who's not understanding. If I'm like, okay, I know when I was in the middle of writing a novel, I haven't gotten it published yet, but it's finished. I knew where I was going with the chapter. I knew how it was going to end, but I was having trouble getting from the start of the chapter to the end of it. How I was
Yeah.
going, and the ideas were coming, but they weren't right. It's just like. I know when I'm getting the right inspiration. It's like inspiration comes all the time, but some of it is just like whack and what is this? And then some of it actually moves you. So it just wasn't happening. So what I started to do was, and it actually created something, believe it or not. I started to write really, really short stories. I called them STPs, story time posts. So they were short stories that are shorter than like the stories that I have in my book. They were short enough for you to post on Instagram. So they're about a minute and 30 seconds long, or maybe 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
Really, really short stories. And that helped me. I would just think of any crazy idea. Okay, let me start writing about this and blah blah blah, and then it actually became something pretty cool, and I started posting them. But once again, it was the writing to help my dry spell. It was even while writing. So it was take my attention off of that and focus what I need to come from my mind or what's already in my mind on this, and just let it rip. So it is very effective, extremely effective. Free writing. How does criticism, good or bad, affect your creativity?
Ooh. One thing I will say is when I was in art school, something that I had not experienced up until that point was I can't remember what they called them now, but it's like you would have 4 different professors. I almost said it then, but it was basically a thing where twice a year you would take your portfolio of work that you worked on for that semester and post it up. If it was digital, you have the little USB thing and do like the projector. Every
art major has to go through that crap.
The review committee, that's what it was called, the review committee. That sounds so like it even sounds scary now, but like you would take your body of work and present it to these 4 professors, and they would pretty much go off of concept, making sure that like the format is proper. So if you do realism in drawing, it needs to look as realistic as possible. Like they're looking at everything. So I think what that did was execution. All that. Yeah. So I think that made it even more. It made it easier for the criticisms I would get from people who didn't know me, because these professors didn't know me and I didn't know them, because they would usually pair you with a group who you didn't take any classes from them, so it could be like an unbiased criticism. And sometimes they would give you some of the best reviews, and other times they'd be like, why am I here? Tearing everything I've done apart. Why am I here? So I think just having to experience that definitely helps with like with any form of art. You're going to have the naysayers. You're going to have people who see this one thing that they don't like, and they're going to take that one thing and they're going to blow it up. And that's going to overshadow anything else you've done. That's going to overshadow whatever piece they're consuming of yours at the moment. Like they're stuck on that one little thing. So I think as a creative, I've always understood, and being somebody who's always been immersed in like the art community here, you're always going to have people who like your stuff and people who don't like your stuff. You're going to have people who have all great things to say, and you're going to have people who don't have nothing nice to say at all. And they're either going to say it to you or about you or around you, not knowing who you are. So
Yep.
it's not something I take to heart. It's usually, well, the work has already been executed. I'm not trying to appease you by the things I'm creating. I'm trying to appease what's in my heart. So I guess I can say I selfishly create because if it makes
I
me
like
happy,
that.
I'm
I
going to do it.
selfishly create. Ooh, that's nice. I
Mhm.
selfishly create. I like
I
that.
selfishly create.
I will use that. I selfishly create. That's what's up. Yeah, I think I know how I feel about this. So I know I've mentioned it many times on the show on previous episodes, but I can completely relate. My goodness. Boy. How does no, I already asked. I'm sorry. As a creative, if you had the time, especially with you because you've done so many different things as far as art is concerned, if you had the time, what art form would you like to get into and become really good at, or focus a real attention around?
Ooh, ceramics. No, that's
Oh,
random,
okay.
but
No, but that's what I'm looking for. Like, it's something
yeah,
that's just like ceramics. Okay, so like
ceramics.
you
Yeah.
want, like, what you always want to do, like, the pottery, or what type, like when you say
Mhm.
ceramics?
Yeah, just I've always had a fascination for the ability to sculpt something. I think it's really cool. You just take a lump of clay and you can make this really cool thing out of it. And the process. I love creating things that require some form of intimacy.
I
So
like that statement.
yeah, if I can use my hands to make something, I'm gonna try it out. Even if
Mhm.
I end up hating it, it's like, well, yeah, that's not for me. Um, but one thing I can say across the board for me, if it's art to be made that requires some form of intimacy, I'm all for it. I'm
All
all
for it,
for it.
all in.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's by far my favorite answer to this question. I like that. That's yeah. Wow. It's like it's key. Is it showing that it's resonating with me on several levels? Like, I really love that answer. I really do.
Yeah.
It's just anything that you can create with your hands is infinite. That is so true.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. All right. I know the reason why I wanted to do this show, to be able to give Black and brown creatives an opportunity to be able to promote their work and tell their creative journey free of charge. So we can get out there and help each other,
Mm-hmm.
excel. And I'm gonna tell you, each interview is just great, and there's always some wonderful gem that's being dropped, by the wonderful guests that I'm so happy to have on the show. And it's just, I'm glad I was frustrated enough with not being able to promote my work, that led me to want to create this platform, because then I would never get to meet people that I've been meeting and hear wonderful things like I just heard now that are going to sit with me forever. That's so good. How does being a Black creative affect your work, or does being a Black creative affect your work and the promotion of it?
Ooh, I think as Black people, we already know that's always going to be a factor in one way, shape, or another. Throughout the years, because I've been doing this now almost 20 years. It's been a minute. And just seeing all the changes that have happened, where having always been a Black creative, I can't change that part about myself.
Right.
Having always been a Black creative and just seeing how things have changed so much, it definitely, I'll just say you have to find your lane as a Black creative. You have to know who your audience is. You have to know the type of people who actually consume your art and can look past just the fact that you are a Black person or Black creative. I know for me, I have a tendency to, which I think is a phenomenal thing. I know my audience is Black and brown. So I don't really have the issue of my ethnicity or my race being like a problem. Like I said before, early in my career, people would try to tell me like, well, you have to do this or this, but they were also trying to put me in this box or this category to where I could be easily consumable by, I'll just put it out there, white people.
Right.
And for me, that just never sat well with what I do or who I am. So I know that it can play a role, because people do already have these stereotypes about you when you're an internet personality, or they only know you through social media. Preconceived notions are going to exist regardless. And I think the biggest thing for me, one of the challenges I have had to face was, I've never been one to run around and be like, oh yeah, I'm pretty, or I'm blah, blah, blah. Like, the confidence has always been there. But to kind of walk around like I'm better than people because I know that I'm a conventionally attractive person is never something that I would do. But the fact that I am...
You were a self-confident person who never was conceited.
Yeah. Right. But then you just, with the way that you can only present so much of yourself through social media. Or I personally choose to. Like, my private life is my life. You're here because you enjoy my modeling, right? So just look at the pictures. So people will automatically have this preconceived notion of like who I am or how I should carry myself. And when I'm not, that is the only time it becomes a problem.
But no, I hear you, man. Just like, with you're here because you enjoy my modeling, so let's just keep it on the same page.
Yeah, let's just focus on that.
So, and then the last one of this segment, what are you the most thankful for as it relates to your creative journey?
Ooh, I'm thankful for the people I've met. And I'm thankful especially for the people that are in my life, on a more personal and intimate level. Because I'm surrounded by creatives, so I'm not afforded the ability to not create.
Got you. I like
my
that.
creative friends are always going to be like, well, you said you were working on this thing a month ago. What's up with that? Like, I'm interested to see what you're doing. So, and I'll say for a fact that Mercedes, Sincerely Antoinette, her and KB are the main two who will be like, so what you been up to? What you doing? Yeah, because I know them personally. Like, when I heard about their interview that they had done with you, I was sitting in their living room.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I had gone over to visit and hang out and catch up. And that's when Kendra told me, like, yeah, you should really do this podcast interview. And I was like, oh man, I'm nervous, but I'll do it.
Nice.
So
I got Kendra, shout out to her because she bigged you up big time.
Man, Kendra is,
and I know I'm not saying anything that you don't know, but I'll say it anyway. She was like, do you know Khalifa Kofi? I was like, no. She said, yes, she's a magnificent model. She does this, she does that, da 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 da. She said she was in my living room. I body painted her. She was in my living room. And it's just like so I'm just saying that to say that y'all are cool and everything, but you're big in her eyes. Very
she's big in mine too.
Yeah. And that's just wonderful. And I love that. I love the fact that this is something also that a lot of the creatives always say. In some way, shape, or form, they say it, that it's so important to have creative support around you.
Mm-hmm.
People who are always going to encourage your creativity, your artistry, always going to, if they're not doing it financially, they're doing it emotionally. And if they're not doing it emotionally, they're doing it by, just like you said, hey, you said you're going to do that thing last month. What's up? Where you at?
Yeah.
It just to keep, that's a fuel that's amazing and it's beautiful. So, it's great to have that creative support, and to meet people along the way who how did you say it? That make your reality as such one of, I can't afford.
I can't afford to not create.
To not create, yeah. That's why
I can't afford to not do it. So
beautiful.
I'm always being held accountable, which is helpful for me because I have a tendency to talk myself out of doing things if I felt like they were too grandiose. Like I could see what the end product or the end result would be, but those little steps, like if I feel like I don't have enough time to dedicate to starting something, I just won't start it. And that's part of my problem.
That's the opposite problem. Which is I gotta stop starting things.
Yeah.
Right? Because then it's just like, okay, dude, you're not finished the thing you were supposed to be doing because you started this. Like sometimes this show has definitely it recreated a problem. No, I'm serious. I was getting good with it. I was really getting good with just staying focused on, because I'm working on volume 2 right now of my short story book, and I was just really like staying focused. But then, man, I'm speaking with painters and metal artists and models, and it's just like, and then you tell me these wonderful stories, and as I said before, whenever I see something that I really love, instantly I'm saying to myself, I can do that. And then it's like, now I got to try it. And I'm not trying to do the same exact thing that person is doing. I'm just trying to see how I can do it. And I was just like, dang, man, y'all are ruining me. Like now it's like, oh man, I really want to paint this thing. Like, I don't have the time. So I'm the complete opposite, man. I'm trying to be like, no. Stay away. You're focusing on this. Don't look at that. Don't touch that. Don't listen to that. My wife's like, I got to go to Michael's. I'd be like, oh, man.
Now I got to go to Michael's.
And now I got to go to Michael's. Dang. And I didn't have to go to Michael's. We're sitting in there like, oh, I never did that before. And it's like, it's the complete opposite with me. Oh boy. But it's like, what do they say? It's the blessing and the curse. It's I wouldn't change it for a thing. I wouldn't change it for a thing. I really wouldn't. I love the fact that my mind just goes everywhere. It's just it's beautiful, but it does come with its frustrations.
Right, with its own price.
Yes, it does. Exactly. That was the word I was looking for. It goes with its own price, man. Boy, and sometimes it can be expensive. That price. Goodness.
You're always gonna lose some money, and you're always gonna lose some sleep.
2 things that I can't afford to lose
at all.
Like, I can afford to lose weight and everything, but I can't afford to lose sleep and money. I can't. Man,
I need both of those in abundance.
For real. So it's the last segment. Take it to the gut, with GUT standing for giving up the tangibles. Resources to help models who are just starting out, and they have taken a liking to you. They follow you. They see your success. They have heard your success. They've been inspired by your creative journey, listening to it. And they want to know, hey, how do I get to be on the L.O.S.T Creatives Podcast after 20 years talking to Ijlal about my, So, first question: what should creatives in your specific space as a model do to get better?
Definitely be prepared. what do they say? Stay ready so you ain't got to get ready.
Right. Right.
So that's in the fashion industry, they have a thing called a model bag. And that's just where you keep the basics: a plain black top, plain black bottoms. It could be leggings, jeans, a single pair of heels or two, black and nude. Usually have like for women, I can only speak for women. I don't know what men have to keep in their model bag. Usually it's some form of undergarment. Let's see, stuff like deodorant, just things you would need if you're moving from place to place, or if you're doing a runway show or a photo shoot. Just having a model bag is helpful. So just having like the very basics is always helpful. Just keeping yourself up, making sure your skin's good, making sure your hair looks good. If you're going to wear makeup, don't do a ton of it, just kind of try to keep the canvas as blank and simple as possible. Yeah. So that's just starting out. Like once you find your own lane and you can say, hey, no. Once you've built enough repertoire or whatever to be able to do certain things your way, then yeah. But starting out, you usually want to be easy to work with. Put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how I guess part, I don't know, A of this question. I know if I want to become a better painter, like DeMar Douglas said, you got to draw every day. Draw every day and paint every day, because painting typically starts off with with the drawing. He said you should be doing it every day. You can. He said, excuse me. He said, not a model bag, but you should always be having your sketch pad on you, pencils, or your iPad, because you can do digital stuff now. Whatever. He said that's you should not be caught anywhere where you can't sketch something down. What is a model? What should a model always be doing? I get the model bag, but like for them to be a better, is there something, I'm like, for example, I'm gonna give a really stupid, ignorant example. For an example, do pose drills. I don't know, something. You know what I'm saying? Like, is there anything like that? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. You have print model and runway. And sometimes you'll have models who can do both. So as one of those models who has a lot of experience in both, I would just say take lots of pictures, whether it's selfies or having somebody photograph you. Like, just get as comfortable in self and in front of a camera as possible. So it doesn't always have to be something that's Instagrammable or something you can post to social media. It could just be, I'm taking these to get better at posing. I'm taking these to get better at my angles and where my lighting is. And with runway, of course, just walk in your heels as often as possible. Walk on different types of ground, slick floors, concrete, cobblestone, like wherever you can walk in heels, it's good to practice. So yeah, just practice.
Okay, good. And what should they do to best promote themselves as models?
So that's definitely where social media comes in. It helps out a lot with that. Only post your best work.
Only post your best work.
Only post your best work. I would also say it's helpful. It's been helpful to me to condense my social media strictly to, if it relates to fashion in any way, absolutely. So if, say, the model is good at doing makeup, of course you want to post the fact that you're good at makeup. Like for me, it was incorporating the clothes I would wear and my photo shoots. That's all you're going to find on my Instagram. But just trying to keep things cohesive enough to where people don't lose what it is that you do, or even as a side note, other things that you're good at that could still segue back to this main thing. So that's why I said, like, if a model's good at doing makeup, you want to showcase that, like just take a picture of you doing it with your makeup done, like. So just those ways of being consistent, but also making sure you're only posting your best work.
You're posting your best work.
Yeah.
Okay, there you have it. So excuse me, Khalifa, I would like for you to take the time right now, for all the creatives listening and watching, please tell them, tell us what's, for those who want to follow you, see your work, get to know your work. What are your handles that you want to provide? I don't know if you do commission type work, or so emails, or to get in contact with you for whatever it is. Best way to get in contact with you, best place for us to see your work. Give that out now, please.
Yeah, so my handle on Instagram is @Khalifa.Kofi. On Facebook, it's just Khalifa Kofi. Those are currently the only two social medias that I use. I'm working on doing a website and all that. So I'm working on that. And the best way to get in touch with me is either of my DM inboxes on Facebook or Instagram, or by email. It's KhalifaWest00@gmail.com.
Sweet. And I'll go ahead and drop this in the caption comment section, so that way anyone can, they can just have the link. We've been speaking for over 2 hours.
Does it seem like
it never does, man. It never does. It never does. And I think it never does because it's one thing to be interviewed by someone who is a journalist. This is what they do professionally. They know all the right questions to ask, and so on and so forth. And they're very good at getting information from you and making you feel relaxed and conveying things, and so on and so forth. But I think that it's always better when you're speaking with someone who can very much relate to what you do.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's always like, wow, I didn't even realize the time. Because it's like, look, I mean, I'm not a model, right? Well, I mean, not professional, but that's,
better let them know.
This is about you. It's not about me. So, I'm not a model, but I'm very much a creative, and we have related on several things. Just because, I think that we all, whatever that creative DNA strand it is, every single one of us share it.
Yeah.
And it looks the same way.
Yeah.
And that's enough. And I think that's what makes it work. That's what makes the time go by. We've in our different situations, we share vast similarity, and it's a beautiful thing. I, for one, very much enjoyed myself. I'm glad I was able to get to hear your creative journey and get to know you, a lot better. You most certainly are a very talented creative through and through. Every single one of your titles are well deserving.
Thank you.
It's always nice when you speak with someone and you get she's good people, she's good people, and I very much get that from you. You are good people.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I want to thank you, for taking out the time to do this. I'm very grateful for it. Also grateful for those who referred you to me. Shout out to KB the Visionary and Sincerely Antoinette.
Yes.
I'm also thankful for the artists that you gave me, because I will most certainly be reaching out to them, because once again, this is very much the purpose of the show. You know, we gotta get good with wanting to help give each other opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, as Black people, especially as Black creatives, you know, whatever we can do, because a lot of our stuff is stifled, you know, so whenever we can do that, we should be running to it. And I'm so glad you were able to do that. I really thank you for spending this time with me on the L.O.S.T Creatives Podcast. You have made it. Thank you. You have made. You are the 10th guest.
Whoa, confetti.
You are number 10. Number 10.
I hit the double digits.
Yeah, double digits. That's all right. Thank you. All right.
Congratulations to you for that. That's major.
Thank you. So, you know, I have no doubt that this will become very big and major, and I am very happy that I was able to have you as number 10. So this way, when I'm up to my 100th episode, I can say, and I am always thankful to my first 10. You know, before the world knew my name, before the world knew the L.O.S.T Creatives Podcast, shout out to the top 10.
Hey.
Shout out to the top 10.
And the world will know. I feel like this podcast is going to take off for real.
You gotta believe it.
It has no choice but to.
It has no choice but to. I mean, you know, we are creative, period. And the world always looks at us. You know, so a space where we're just telling our creative journey. You know, just like I was thinking like FUBU, you know, for us, by us type thing. You know,
yeah.
You know, but but once again, thank you very much for taking the time, Khalifa. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, all creatives out there who have been listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and also watching on YouTube. Thank you very much for tuning in yet again. Please remember, know you are a creative, and tell me your story.